Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kristen, and today I'd like to talk about the currently inked pens that I used for April 2024. Okay, so first up is the TWSBI Eco Creme Rose Gold. It has a 1.1 stub nib, and I had this one inked up with a Diamine Inkvent color by Humbug. This one was a really nice combination. I loved this pen and ink combination. It was smooth and seamless. The deep dark burgundy ink with the chameleon shimmer not only looks breathtaking in direct sunlight, but it also performs well in this TWSBI stub nib. It was perfectly lubricated and I enjoyed the writing experience whenever I used this pen. Next up is Diamine Masquerade in my Franklin-Christoph Model 2 in Ice and Primary Manipulation 1. This is a matte finish and it has a broad sig nib. Here's a writing sample for Diamine Masquerade. And this is a lovely brownish pink ink with gold shimmer. It performed well enough in the broad sig nib. There was a little bit of ink dry out like right here about a third of the way down the page. It doesn't bother me since I never experienced hard starts with this pen. There is a good amount of shading in here, but I found myself desiring other inks and other pens, wetter writing experiences this month. All right, so next is my Zodiac Sagittarius in Golden Abalone. It has an extra fine nib and it was inked up with Aurora Sepia. It is a lovely brown ink. So every time I write with this pen, I am shocked that the nib is actually categorized as extra fine instead of fine. I'm not complaining because I really enjoyed this pen and ink combination. The pen is beautiful. The ink is beautiful. My only complaint is that sometimes it felt like there was some weird condensation going on right here on the section. And I don't know if it was ink or water, but I never saw like actual ink rub off on my fingers. But it was just an odd sensation that I experienced several times throughout the month. After that one is Kobe ink number 22 Shinkaichi Gold in the Jinhao 9016. This has a fine nib. The ink is nice. It performs well, and the Jinhao 9016 is lovely. Unfortunately, I find myself not really enjoying this ink color as much as I thought I would. Now, as for the pen, I experienced a bit of scratchiness with the nib, but after realigning the tines, every writing experience thereafter was flawless. I just don't like the ink color. Next is the Schon design full-sized peekaboo fountain pen with a Monoc nib. It's ground down to a perspective by Gina Salarino, and it's inked up with Sailor Shikiori Rikyucha. This pen and ink combo was one of my favorites for the month. I almost celebrate every time I get to pick up this pen and write something. This pen probably looks the most plain out of all of my pens for the month, but it has the most character. I love the pen body, the material, and the flawless manufacturing. I love the Monoc nib and the ridiculously grungy green color of this ink is just so good. And I think it all comes together to deliver an exceptional writing experience that's made even better by Gina Salarino's Perspective Grind. This was perfection for me this month. Next is Van Diemen's Mandarin Duck Nape, inked up in my Opus 88 Mini, Sakura Cherry Blossoms. It has an extra fine nib, and this one actually feels like basically a Japanese extra fine nib. I struggled a little bit at the start of the month because there was some dryness and scratchiness that needed to be addressed. After aligning the tines, the Opus 88 wrote beautifully. So this is after I aligned the tines. And this number 5 steel extra fine nib is juicy but crisp and surprisingly bouncy. I think that this fountain pen rivals the extra fine nib on my Sailor 1911 large, and I'm shocked to be able to say that. This little pen is the perfect size for an everyday carry fountain pen, and it remains smooth when I write large and fast. That's something that I can't say about the Sailor 1911 extra fine nib. This teal ink is actually the perfect complement for this pen, so I really enjoyed this combo this month. This is my TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR black with a fine nib. It's inked up with Diamine Blue Peppermint. I was so excited about this pen and ink combo at the beginning of the month. I really love how they look together. I actually selected this TWSBI for the shimmer ink because I thought that this pen had a medium nib, but it didn't. The combo was still lovely and wet at the beginning of the month, so I continued on with it. But the wetness balanced out the more that I wrote with the pen. I never encountered clogging, but I could feel the ink flowing more slowly throughout the month and during this writing sample. I still really enjoy Diamine Blue Peppermint. I love that shimmer in this ink, but I'd love to see it inked up in a medium or even a stub nib. This is the Platinum Prefounte Night Sea with a fine nib. It's inked up with Diamine Polar Glow. I love that snap cap. It's so easy to use. I was really excited to finally use this fountain pen again. It's been too long since I've used the Prefounte, and I wanted to see if I still enjoy using this as much as I did in the past. In short, this is a great writer. It's a no-nonsense fountain pen that'll perform when you need it, even with a sheening ink like Diamine Polar Glow. Now, if you're not fond of the appearance of fountain pens like the Platinum Preppy, I think this is a great alternative. So here is a writing sample. It's a pretty straightforward ink, really bold blue with a hint of sheen. Here's my second TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR for the month. This is Nickel Gray. And this is the one that's got the medium nib. I really wanted to like this ink, but I can't like it in this pen. There were no issues with the performance of this combination, but I never warmed up to the writing experience or the reading experience. Now, in my pen mix-up, I actually thought that this Diamond 580 had the fine nib. I was prepared to see really crisp, clean, narrow lines with this ink color, and I was hoping for thicker, broader, brighter lines with the black one. So I would really love to experience this ink again in a fine nib or even an extra fine nib. The lines just look a little bit too substantial for my eyes, especially in this color. Here's the Esterbrook Estie Mimosa. It has a journaler nib and it's inked up with Monteverde Elephant. I really wanted to like this combo. The yellow pen is beautiful. I loved the journaler grind, and this purple ink just looks and feels really nice as it flows from the pen. But the problem is that ink is also flowing through the section of the pen. So I get purple stained fingers every time I use it. The converter in this pen became dislodged while I was out and about with the pen, and the full converter of ink actually spilled into the barrel and beyond into the cap. I wiped everything clean, I refilled the converter, and I'm so glad that this wasn't an ink sample because that would have been completely wasted. I firmly reseated the converter into the section of the pen. Now I'm still seeing ink. Just like I showed you, I'm still seeing ink that is leaking onto the section whenever I uncap the pen. I'm not so sure that it's a fresh leak or if this is just the additional ink that I was unable to clean out since I didn't completely flush the pen after I initially discovered the problem. So is this a one-off mishap from my less than careful handling of the pen, or is it an ill-fitting converter? I'd like to ink up this pen again sometime because I think that will help me diagnose the problem and hopefully find a solution for it. This is my Wancher Dream Pen. The Ebonite is called Marble Purple Gray. It has a medium cursive smooth italic nib, and I've inked this one up with Aurora Gray. I really like this Aurora Gray ink, and I really like Kirk Spears grind on this nib. I had a reliable writing experience with this pen, but I do not like the colors in the Ebonite. I bought this pen as part of a mystery bag, so I had no idea what color I was getting. I was immediately underwhelmed when I first unboxed this pen, and I tried to help matters by adding a special grind to the nib at the San Francisco Pen Show, but that was not enough to change my mind about this pen. Every time I look at it, I feel disappointed. In the month of April, I was so distracted by the pen that I barely got a chance to really enjoy the color-changing properties of Aurora Gray. I am planning on selling this pen soon, so if you are interested in buying this one, feel free to contact me using the email in the description box. All right, so that is everything about each fountain pen that I used. So now it is time to rank these fountain pens based on my experiences for the month of April. Number one is no surprise. It's the Schon Design full-size fountain pen. I have no complaints about this pen. I loved everything about this experience. Second is the TWSBI Eco Creme Rose Gold. I love the color of this pen. I love the color of the ink and how they match well together. I love the stub nib on this thing. It was icing on the cake for me. Third is my Zodiac pens, Sagittarius and Golden Abalone. This was a really, really nice pairing. It was a smooth, very seamless experience whenever I wrote with this fountain pen. Fourth is my Opus 88 Mini. I was always so excited to use this, and I enjoyed taking this one around with me as my everyday carry fountain pen, and it was just the most reliable, but also the cutest little fountain pen for the month. So I really liked that one. I really want to have this one inked up more often, just so that I can have it and carry it around with me. Number 5 is my Franklin-Christoph Model 2 in Ice and Premier Manipulation 1 matte finish. I love the sig nib on this thing, but I was underwhelmed by the actual color of the ink. Number 6 is my TWSBI Diamond 580 black with Diamine blue peppermint in here. That's such a beautiful ink, but I would love to see this ink in a broader nib. Number 7 is my Esterbrook Estie Mimosa. Even though This is a very unpleasant experience to have every time I pick up the pen. I think the color of this pen and the journaler grind are enough to make me want to just forgive the issues that I'm having right now. Just overlook those issues, wipe it off, and keep going. That's what I did with this pen, because whenever I did that, I still had a very reliable, very enjoyable experience. I loved it. Number 8 is the TWSBI Diamond 580 in nickel with Aurora purple. It was all right, but I really enjoyed all of these experiences much more than this one. Next is the Jinhao 9016 in white with Kobe number 22 Shinkaichi gold. It was a very nice, reliable writing experience, but I was underwhelmed by the ink color. Number 10 is the Platinum Prefounte. It was all right. It seems like these last few fountain pens were just okay. They were all right. I really enjoyed my writing experiences, especially with these top 4. The 5th one is fine, but especially the top 4, I really loved my experiences with those. This one was all right, especially since this was like a standard blue ink in a standard blue pen. I was pretty underwhelmed whenever I wrote with this fountain pen. And number 11 is a fountain pen that I probably avoided subconsciously just because I don't like the pen body. So yeah, that is my ranking for my April 2024 currently inked pens. What did I learn about this? I've got 2 life lessons that I have learned from this. Try to buy samples before I buy a full bottle of ink, and don't buy any more mystery boxes or mystery bags when I don't know what the pen looks like. I'm very picky about my pens right now. So buying mystery bags or mystery boxes with fountain pens is probably not going to be something that I do in the future. I've learned my lesson right here. Did you have any lessons that you learned last month based on your currently inked fountain pens? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.